I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
This week we are talking about Three Men and a Baby, another Touchstone film, a film that I probably should not have watched this as a kid, but I did because it was on cable and I was pretty much watching whatever was on cable at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I finally watched this when I was like maybe 14 or something. I don't know.
At least that was about the right age, PG-13 movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw this as a wee one watching this. What year does this come out? 1987. So yeah, I was like 7 years old when I originally did watch this. Probably should not have watched this movie, especially this movie has a lot of adult situations, adult conversations. There's no major language issues. There's no obscene scenes, but it's three grown men who are bachelors who often talk about the numerous women they bed and oops, here's a baby.
Yeah.
One thing, okay, before we really get into it, okay, you have our three leads, and I want to talk about that real quick. So we have Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, Steve Guttenberg, right?
Also known as Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, and the other guy.
Magnum P.I., the guy from Cheers, and the guy from Police Academy.
Which I have never seen. So, growing up, it was that movie with Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, and the other guy.
And I want to say this because you have, in this movie, Tom Selleck, womanizer. I can believe that. Ted Danson, womanizer. I can believe that. This movie doesn't even believe Steve Guttenberg can be a womanizer.
Yeah, he's kind of the schlub that like every time he tries to get with a woman, he ends up like every time he tries to get with a woman, he ends up repairing her previous relationship.
Yeah, there's a scene where he has a woman in his bed and then he's all of a sudden her therapist.
Yeah.
Like, I do find that funny is that no one could see Steve Guttenberg as a womanizer. I just find that hilarious. But yeah, Three Men and a Baby, based on, one thing I did not know, this is based off a French film of a similar title. Translates to Three Men and a Cradle. I have not seen that movie, but if it's a similar vibe, sure. But yeah, I mean, this is full on 80s movie. A product. It's one of those 80s movies that's a product of its time because there's a lot of references that just do not age, especially like the party at the beginning where Steve Guttenberg is doing a Robin Leach impression and doing Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Like, how many people that are not millennials or Gen X would even get that reference?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching that show. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you did.
I did.
But, so, I mean, I got it, but yeah, I think if you showed it to somebody today, like I think you showed it to like Gen Z or something, mm-hmm. They'd be like, what is this?
Why is he doing a bad British accent? What's he doing? What's he filming? It's like, oh, okay, it was a reference to an old TV show that was airing at the time. It was hosted by a British guy, and he would go to rich people's house and say, look how fabulous these rich people live compared to the schlubby apartment you're living in.
And also, like, you can't even, look at Gen Z and be like, it's kind of like MTV Cribs, because that's now like a really old reference.
Yeah. Even MTV Cribs is it's at least 20, 30 years old. Yeah, like I said, we have three actors who were kind of well-known names at the time. For what I said, Magnum PI was like the show. Cheers was like the show. Police Academy was Police Academy.
And what's so funny is two of these three still working and still big stars today.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what happened to Steve Guttenberg.
So, and I mean, let's get this one right off the bat here. We mentioned right before we started recording. This movie has a bit of a controversy, or at least an urban legend tied to it. So there's a scene in the movie where Ted Danson and his character's mother are with the baby, and in the background of a scene, you can see the shape of a person. Now, there's an urban legend that believes that this is a person that ended their life in the house that they're filming in, and this is their ghost or someone that, yeah. There's just one problem with this so-called urban legend. They didn't actually film in any houses or homes or apartments for this movie. It was all on sound stages. And the shape of the person that you see in that scene is actually a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson. There's a deleted scene. As Ted Danson's character is an actor. He did several TV commercials, and the cardboard stand-up was supposed to be an advertisement for one of the commercials that he was in. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to have it in the movie anymore because that scene got cut, but it's still there.
Yeah, and you can see it, like, you can see the stand-up very clearly at the end of the movie, when Sylvia shows up, because Ted Danson and Sylvia and the baby are standing like directly in front of the cutout, and it's right at the same window that you see the figure earlier in the movie. Like, it's in the exact same spot in the apartment. So yeah, I mean, if you compare the frames, you can tell that it's the exact same thing. But, we grew up hearing this urban legend. I know I did.
It's still one of those urban legends that people talk about today, like the hanging munchkin in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
No matter how many times the urban legend gets rebunked, it just comes back every couple of years. Like I mentioned, this is like the 80th of movies, the 80th of 80s movies, because our director is, like I said, we have the guy from Magnum PI, we have the guy from Cheers, we have the guy from Police Academy, and it's directed by the guy from Star Trek, Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock himself.
Yeah, and I had forgotten about that, so when I was watching the credits, I was like, oh, right.
And it's not a badly directed movie. It's actually really good. He's a really good director.
Yeah, I mean, remember he directed two of the Star Trek films. He had already directed those before he directed this. So it's he wasn't like really known as a director, but he was, it wasn't his main thing he did, but he was pretty good at it.
Man's a triple threat: actor, director, singer, writer.
Yeah, he wrote some books, and photographer as well.
Yeah.
If you've never seen his photography, that's some interesting stuff. He was known, he had a thing where he took pictures of women of size.
Ah.
That was his thing. He put out at least one really interesting photography book where he took pictures of plus size women, and it's really beautiful photography. So yeah, really great stuff. Go look it up.
So let's get into the plot of this movie. We have our three roommates, our three men. We have Tom Selleck as Peter, who is an architect, Ted Danson as Jack, who is an actor, and Steve Guttenberg as Michael, who is a comic artist. It doesn't come. I mean, he is shown to be the artist on a comic called Johnny Cool, which is popular enough to have merchandise. As there a few times in the movie, he is playing with a Johnny Cool puppet.
Yeah, and there's lots of merchandise in his bedroom that
He's
we
very
see.
We never see any of the comic strips. All we know is that he writes them. He has an editor that he has to pass these comics by, but we never see much of it. And it's not really important to the story, so I don't blame them in not doing it. Just like we don't see any of Jack's commercials, which, like I said, was originally a scene that they got cut.
Yeah, the thing is that we do see the woman that we mentioned before that was in his bedroom. She is looking at some of the comic strips. We can't see what they say, you know?
Mm.
And then later when he's watching the baby, we do see him working on one of the strips, drawing one of the strips. Um, and we do know that it's a syndicated strip in newspapers.
Mm.
That's kind of what we know about his comic. So it seems to be like a kind of Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes kind of thing. You know, it's a thing you read in the Sunday paper kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back
And
when you could still do that.
yeah, now it's all online.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, their respective art is. I mean, his art. He also does these murals all over the floor of the building they live on, and it's assumed that the entire floor is theirs because yes, there's a plaque that says he did the mural, but there's also another plaque in the building that implies that Tom Selleck's Peter designed the building that they're living in.
Yeah, it seems to be like that they might have the penthouse of the building that they're in
Mm.
and that they share it because that is a hell of an apartment for New York.
Especially if you have again the 1980s income of an architect, a comic strip writer, and a struggling actor probably
Well, the
together.
thing is that it seems like the comic strip is doing well. Like he's got merchandising deals and stuff, so that's got to be pulling him in some money.
Mhm.
Okay, the 80s were like the height of comic strips in newspapers.
Mhm.
So I'm sure he's got some money. And Tom Selleck is designing skyscrapers. So I think he's pulling in some money. He seems to be like a really together architect, and when Ted Danson says he can't afford the rent that month, Tom Selleck is not worried about it. Like at all. He's like, go to Turkey and do your movie. It's fine. I'm not worried about the rent. So I have a feeling, like they're living in a pretty decent neighborhood from what we see on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not living on Central Park or anything, but, like, they're living in a decent neighborhood. They have, like, an apartment with a doorman and stuff. They have, um, like a secretary that comes in, and,
Mm-hmm.
like, brings their mail and stuff. That apartment is really big, and given what happens at the end of the movie, they apparently have at least one more bedroom that they're not using.
That's
You
why I'm
know?
saying that's what I'm saying is that they might just have the entire floor just for themselves.
Well, they do, because you see that there's like the little the elevator
Mm-hmm.
and the
Goes directly to their front
foyer,
door. Yeah.
and he paints the mural in the foyer outside the elevator, and there's only one door and it's theirs.
Yeah.
So they do have that entire floor, and like I said, I think it's the penthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Sylvia leaves the baby,
Mm-hmm.
she just leaves it outside the door, and she's not worried that anybody else is going to come by and take the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they do have that entire floor. And it is a massive floor. Like, they have like a greenhouse on the outside. They have a game room. There's at least 3 bedrooms, and it seems like there might be a 4th bedroom.
Or and fifth. That you're giving both girls their own room.
So, I mean, that living room is huge. That living room is like the size of my entire apartment.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
They're not struggling.
yeah, they're not. At least 2 of them are not struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Danson may be struggling, but the other
Actor,
2 are probably making bank.
actor in New York, it's not a guaranteed thing, even today.
Well, and also he's not like he's doing commercials and B movies,
In some stage.
and so at some stage, but it doesn't look like it's good stage. Like, you know,
Barely above community theater.
yeah. I mean, it looks like it's kind of the lowest tier
Off,
paid.
off, 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 off Broadway.
Yeah. Um. So anyway, uh, it had been so long since I had seen this movie. Like, I think I watched this movie once when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, like, 2 or 3 times in passing when it was on TV, and like somebody else had it on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think like I actively sat down and watched this movie once
Mm-hmm.
because everybody was like, "Oh, this is the big hit movie."
This was the biggest movie of '87.
Yeah. And so I didn't watch it in '87, I know. But like, it was one of those, like, this is part of the zeitgeist, and so I think I rented it later and watched it because it was just, I wanted to understand references and stuff. And I don't really think I've like actively sat down to watch it since I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I did not remember the plot of this movie.
I had forgotten part of the plot of this movie because we'll get around to it. But yeah, there's a whole secondary plot of this movie that I forgot existed because I thought most of the plot would be here's these 3 guys, lifelong bachelors. Uh-oh, there's a kid there. Whose kid is it? That's what I remember the movie being. That is not what this movie is.
Yeah, I also kind of remembered it being that. And also I remembered like 3 men and a baby. I remembered the 3 men being around for most of the movie. I had forgotten that Ted Danson just like swans off for most of the movie.
Yeah, the entire first third of the movie, he's not in it because his character is filming a movie in Turkey. So the movie starts proper with this birthday party for Peter, Tom Selleck's character. His, as Steve Guttenberg's character says, his late 30s, early 40s party he's not saying. So there's this party for him. It's his birthday. All of his friends, clients, lots of women there. And during the course of the party, Jack, Ted Danson's character, meets up with his friend who was his director on all of his commercials, saying, "Hey, I need to go. I'm going out of town for a few days. I'm not going to be able to answer my mail. Do you mind if I get my mail directed to your apartment because I have a special package that needs to be delivered? Can you take care of it?" Says, "Well, I'm going out of town to film a movie. I'll tell my roommates to look out for this package." Cool. And that is how this thing starts. And again, like I said, Steve Guttenberg's character meets a woman. He ends up playing therapist, and her boyfriend get back together. The third thing here is we have Tom Selleck's character Peter and his long-term girlfriend, and they are in an open relationship. This does play into the movie, as they are in an agreement of their open relationship. He's flirting with other women. She's flirting with other men. But the main focus of that opening scene is Ted Danson and his director friend having this conversation of the special package. So Ted Danson's leaving the next day to go to Turkey to film this movie. And the next day, they see a baby. There's this little baby in front of their apartment, to which they assume is this package that their director friend needed delivering. And my first thought of the movie goes out the window because there's a note saying that the baby belongs to Ted Danson's character Jack from a woman named Sylvia. That "I can't do this anymore. This is your child. Please take care of her. I can't take care of a child by myself." So now you have these two guys, 2 men and a baby. The actual birth father is out of the country. They don't know who this Sylvia woman is. They don't know how to take care of a child. And that is the source of the comedy for the first third of the movie.
Okay, I wanna stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you say the source of the comedy, I'm gonna have to quibble.
Mm-hmm.
Because this movie bills itself as a comedy, and yet I did not laugh a single time watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would definitely say, that's why I say that this movie is product of its time, is that you had to be an adult in the 80s watching these movies and knowing who these actors are and laughing at their predicament. Coming back now in 2024, a lot of this movie is, as they say, cringe. Because if this movie were to happen today, a few YouTube video looks to figure out what's wrong with the babies would have saved half this movie from happening. I mean, the funny part is, here's Tom Selleck in the baby section of a supermarket trying to figure out which baby food to buy, which Pampers to buy, and having this conversation with one of the sales people. What do babies like? What is the best thing for this baby? Meanwhile, Steve Guttenberg is trying to entertain an infant and failing miserably.
I'm just gonna say, do you want to see a baby scream for 2 hours? If so, this is the movie for you.
There's a lot of baby screaming, but again, that's kind of the comedy of these two men, they don't know how to take care of the baby. Hurty hurty hurt. So yeah, if babies screaming are a trigger for you, this is not the movie you want to watch.
Yeah, and guess what? This was a super fun movie for me.
Yeah, and yeah, this is the thing is, you say 2 hours. This is only a 90-minute movie, but 2 hours of baby crying actually makes sense.
Yeah, it felt more like 6 hours of baby crying, I'm just gonna say.
And like I said, there's that scene where, like I said, I mentioned that Tom Selleck and his girlfriend have an open relationship. He calls her over to help take care of the baby, but she's on a date with a member of the symphony, and they're going to go out. And at first he thinks, hey, we have an agreement. We can see other people in our relationship if we want to. And Tom Selleck says, I don't care if you're dating the entire symphony orchestra. I kind of need someone to help me take care of this kid tonight. And she's like, I would love to, but I'm sorry, I have to go.
She doesn't even say I would love to. She's just like, nope, not my problem. Which, good for her.
Like, this is the first time she's known about this kid. And the fact that it's, Ted Danson's kid in the movie, and she says, good luck with his kid. But it's like, I did not sign up for this. I did not know this kid existed before you told me to come over. I have plans. We agreed on seeing other people. I'm going to do my thing. Bye.
Also, she points out how sexist it is
Yes.
because she's like, why are you asking me? And he's like, 'cause you're a woman. And she's like, it doesn't mean I know crap about kids. Which, good for her, 'cause accurate.
Mm-hmm.
He just assumes that she's gonna know all stuff about kids because, woman.
Yeah.
And she rightfully points out, like, not necessarily. I've never had a kid.
And she comes off as someone who probably doesn't want kids, which again, it's fair to her that to have her boyfriend thrust this kid upon her.
Well, she does ask him later in the movie if he's ever planning on having any other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, she might be up for it.
Saying anything else is going into the sequel, and I'm going to avoid that conversation right now.
Yeah.
but uh, so yeah, and then but to get back to the original point, we actually find out what the package is. And it turns out that Ted Danson's director friend is a drug hustler on the side. As the package is full of heroin. And the package is supposed to be delivered to these two guys, and they want the drugs. And the two guys, confused of what the package is, think the package is the baby. That's also part of the comedy. Which, yeah.
Again, comedy in giant air quotes.
Mm-hmm. But now the cops are on their tail because the cops have been tracking these two guys for drug smuggling. They know that the director that one of the three guys is associated with is a drug smuggler. So now the cops are kind of camped out in front of their apartment, following them wherever they go. in attempts to find out which one of them is knowing this drug smuggler. Like I said, I forgot the whole drug smuggler subplot of this movie. I just thought it was just going to be the three guys taking care of the baby. That's how long it's been since they've seen this movie.
Yeah, same. I had totally forgot about the drug thing. I was like, what the hell is this? This is not what I remember.
Yeah, and we don't see Ted Danson come back until the midpoint of the movie. So he's back from filming his movie. They say, here's your kid. Who the hell is Sylvia? And then he says, hey, I did this production of Taming of the Shrew when I was in Cambridge. She was the shrew. She's the baby mama. Oh, crap. And then Gutenberg and Selleck kind of have their revenge, saying, your kid, your problem. We're going to go do our own thing. We put our lives on hold throughout this entire time you were gone to take care of your kid, and now you're going to take responsibility for your kid. Which is fair to them, because, again, they're right. They put their lives on hold for this kid because that's their friend, but it's time for their friend to step up.
But also, like, the second that they can't get a hold of him on the phone, they're like,
Yeah,
little girl.
the two of them go out on a date, and then they try to check in on Ted Danson with the baby. He's not answering the phone because he's giving the baby a bath. And then they freak out. Oh crap, he's dead. Oh crap, the baby. We gotta go and see what's wrong with the baby. Because by this point in the movie, the two guys have fallen in love with this little baby, and they worried about her, and they want to take care of her, and yeah. The big twist comes, I want to say, with about 40 minutes left in the movie. With they get a newspaper clipping sent to them in the mail of the director friend. They don't say it, but I'm pretty sure this guy's dead.
Well, he's beaten up in the hospital. I don't think he's dead. He's just really bad off.
Yeah. I would have preferred if they had killed the guy, but who knows? But they pretty much say, hey, don't let this happen to you. Where's our drugs? Again, this is something that you would probably only see in an 80s movie where the three guys set up this sting operation where they set up, okay, we're going to give you the drugs. And then one of the other guys records the conversation while Tom Selleck is calling the cops, and they set up this whole sting operation to get the true drug dealers and get the drugs and get everything going. And I know you think I'm speeding through this, but I'm really not. Cutting the fat of the movie, this is really the movie. And I say this because, and I hate saying it like this, but this movie has 4 acts, because at the end of the third act of this movie, where you think, oh, they've gotten rid of the drug dealers and they're going to live with these 3 guys taking care of this baby. They have a very end of the movie style montage where they're playing frisbee with the baby. They use the baby as a way to get women, because you see them getting phone numbers from women with the baby. And you would think that this is how the movie ends. But no, we have half an hour of movie left. Like, in any other situation, in any other movie, this would be the ending. With them with the baby, with women around them, and, happy ending, 3 dads with the kid, yay. But no, we then get a 4th act where Mama Sylvia has entered back into their lives. Sylvia, played by Nancy Travis, enters in the 4th act of this movie saying, I want my daughter back, and I'm going to move to England with my daughter because I'm going to raise my child with my family because I can't do it by myself and I don't want to be without my daughter, but I also don't want to quit acting. Yeah. Um, Nancy Travis is an American actress, so I don't know why they didn't get an English actress to do this role since she's supposed to be English.
Yeah, I don't know.
Eh.
Well, as much as we talk about the fact that, British actors keep stealing American parts,
Mhm.
maybe it's okay that it reverses at one point.
Maybe. But yeah, she doesn't show up in the movie for very long. Like I said, she's only in it for the last 20 or so minutes of the movie. She just pops back in saying, "Hey, I want my kid back. I'm moving to England. I'm going to be with my family," which again is her right as the baby's mother. Again, I'm cutting a lot of the movie out, but there's not a lot of substance. A lot of the movie is just, no offense, I forgot so much about this movie, probably because there's a lot of the movie where nothing happens.
It's supposed to be a comedy,
Mhm.
and the idea of comedy is, hey, do you want to see a bunch of poop jokes about a baby? And
Yeah.
no, I don't. I mean, maybe it's just me, but
Mhm.
no, I don't, me personally. If you do, I guess the more power to you. But most of this movie is, oh, the baby made a doodle. And yes, that's what they say. Which, uh, can we not?
Yeah, like I said, she takes the baby away. She goes to the airport, and we have this big long scene of the three guys with the baby's toys that were left over, and they all have this very sad look, and they're tears in their eyes because they have fallen in love with this baby and they don't want to let her go, and but they come to the realization they can't live without this girl now that she's been in their lives, and they want to try to convince Sylvia to stay, and they can all raise the baby together. And coming back to this movie again after so long, man, I had forgotten that you used to just go into an airport without a ticket. Like they just used to let you go through security. You didn't even need to ticket. You can just go through security up to the gates. Like that was actually a thing.
Yeah,
I You can't
it
do that today, obviously, without buying a ticket, but yeah.
it just it feels so weird.
Yeah. But the end you get there, they realize they're too late. They missed the plane, but by the time they get back to their apartment, Sylvia's there with the baby, saying she couldn't go through with it. She couldn't leave. She loves New York so much. She wants to stay as an actor, but she can't do this alone. Which the three understand, and they come to their agreement that the four of them with the baby are going to live together. They're going to raise this kid together. They're going to be a family. It's a nice little warming moment where they say, "Hey, we'll build you a room. We'll build the baby a room. We're gonna be a family together." And yay, Steve Gutenberg updates the mural to have Sylvia and the baby on it. Yay. I thought there was more substance to this movie than there is.
I thought it was a comedy.
Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be. You have three actors who can do comedy. Steve Gutenberg was like the comedy guy. Cheers is a sitcom. I don't know. I don't know. Like the most memorable scene in the movie is the three of them singing "Good Night, Sweetheart" to the baby.
Yeah, and that was the only thing I remembered.
Yeah, like I feel bad that we're kind of dogging on this, but it's like I really wanted to go back to this, and it's like, for in 1987, this was like the peak movie. I would put this on a list of top 80s comedies, but it's also product of its time. It has not aged very well, and as you say, unless you're really into babies crying for an extended period of time, you are not gonna like this movie. Especially since baby crying is like part of the comedy in the movie.
Also, it's like a really sexist movie. I mean, it's like, oh, men have absolutely no idea what to do with a baby. And, like, that's incredibly sexist. I know plenty of good fathers who are excellent with babies.
Yeah, but I think the point is that these are three guys who never intended to have children, lifelong bachelors, and that's part of the comedy. But if these were three men who have some maternal instincts who wanted to be fathers, if there was a scene where one of the guys say, "Hey, I always wanted to be a dad, it just never happened," that would have helped, but we don't have that. But you're right, the movie plays all three guys as completely incompetent on how to take care of a child. And like you said, the sexism of Tom Selleck asking his girlfriend, "Hey, can you take care of a baby? You're a woman. You're supposed to know these things." I really remember this movie being better than this, but I think it's because I watched it as a kid, which I probably should not have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just because my brain kind of erased all the stuff.
Yeah, like I said, there's entire chunks of this movie I don't remember. Like, I don't remember Ted Danson being gone for like 2/3 of this movie, or 2/4 of this movie. I completely forgot the drug subplot. And then when the drug subplot ended, I thought that was the end of the movie. No, we have an entire 30 minutes left where we now have to introduce the girl's mother. Which honestly, I feel like that they could have done without that.
Yeah, kinda.
Like, it feels tacked on. Like somebody said, we need to have the reveal of the mother and why she did it. Otherwise, it makes the mother look bad. But did we have to?
But the thing is the mother kind of still looks bad, even so.
I mean, she gave up her child. If it's a situation where this is your child, you take care of it, and she's just there, that would have been a little bit better. But she just drops this baby off with with no diapers, no formula, no nothing, just a baby with no supplies, no nothing. Here, take care of the baby. That makes the mother look bad already.
Yeah.
And then she comes back out of the blue saying, "Hey, I'm taking my kid back." Doesn't make her look good, period. Like, if I don't know.
I mean,
Uh,
imagine if they had, like, decided they couldn't take care of the baby and just, took it to, like, Child Protective Services and been like, the mother abandoned the child.
oh, that would have been a completely different movie.
But I mean, they would have been within their rights to do so because she did abandon the child. The father was out of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and the mother just left a baby on a doorstep. Like, she didn't even stay to make sure, like, the father was there, that was still his residence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they would have been completely within their rights to call Child Protective Services and be like, hey, this mother abandoned the baby. We don't even know if she claimed him as the father on the birth certificate.
Mm.
And I mean, 87, I'm not even sure if we really had good paternity tests at that time.
Mm.
So, maybe, but it would have been a little bit more difficult for her to prove paternity.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they could have gotten her in serious, serious trouble. But you're right, that's a totally different movie, but the mother does not come off good here,
Mm.
It's one thing to be like, hey, this is your child and you need to take some responsibility for it, which I'm all for, but you need to give him some heads up if you want to claim that.
Like he could have called her. I mean, obviously he knows where he lives, so it's possible he knows the phone number. So he could have said, "Hey, it's Jack there. I'm Sylvia. I'm an old girlfriend of his. Oh, sorry, Jack's out of the country. He's filming a movie. Can I take a message?" Kind of deal. Again, this is '87. Cell phones were not really a thing.
And phone books were, so,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's fine for her to want him to take responsibility for his child,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got to, you know, inform him that he has a child.
Mm-hmm. And he's just as shocked as the other two guys when he finds out, oh, hey, Jack, allow me to introduce you to your daughter, Mary. Daughter? I don't have a daughter. I'm not even sure this kid's mine.
I mean, we had been talking about doing this movie for quite a while,
Mm-hmm.
and both of us wanted to go back to it and look into it. And I gotta say, it's sad that it was such a disappointment.
Yeah, like there are parts of this movie that are still good, but again, it's really going to depend on whether you find poop jokes funny, whether you find incompetent man funny, whether you are bothered by crying children. Like I said, this movie is definitely a product of its time. It works as an 80s comedy, but you had to be there. And the thing is, I could say that about 90% of 80s comedies. There are a very small percentage of 80s comedies that have stood the test of time without a lot of explaining the jokes or explaining anything about the movie because it's just so of its time. Well, the movie, like I said, this movie was the highest grossing movie of 1987. So, of course, it got a sequel. 1990s, Three Men and a Little Lady. Um, it's not good. I saw Three Men. That I do remember. I saw Three Men and a Little Lady when it came out. It is not good. 2010, there was plans for a third film called Three Men and a Bride, which likely would have had little Mary as an adult getting married. Uh, Father of the Bride with Three Fathers, I don't think would have been good.
Yeah, probably not. But also remember that I think the reason you got confused over the plot of this film is that they kind of did this better in Mamma Mia,
Yeah,
and I think that's what you were getting confused by.
I was going to say the TV show My Two Dads, which also kind of has that same premise, but with a teenage girl and not a baby. There was plans for a reboot back in 2020 with Zac Efron in the movie, but as of now, 2024, there's been nothing about the remake, and I don't know if you could do this and make it a good movie.
Yeah, I would hope not.
I understand that Disney has their need to remake all of their classic movies, all of their hit movies, and I get that, but maybe put Three Men and a Baby away. We don't need a remake. We don't need another sequel. Leave it back in the 80s.
I agree.
Yeah, sorry we didn't have a lot more to say about it. I really thought I would have more to say about it, but no, it's just not. It hasn't stood the test of time. But it's like, I mean, does it have the magic? No,
No.
no, no. And I feel bad saying that because again, this was a movie we both wanted to do for a while, and I just remember this movie being so much better. But I think it's just because it was this of this time. It was an '80s comedy that has not aged well. So yeah, if this is one
It
of your favorite,
happens.
it happens. It happens. Not every movie stands the test of time. So yeah, 3 Men and a Baby does not have the magic, unfortunately. So let's move on to next week. Another classic Disney movie, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. Was this Kurt Russell's first movie?
I don't know. I don't know if it was his first movie ever, but it was his first movie for Disney. So we are going back to Kurt Russell's beginning with Disney, which continues to this day.
Yeah.
We will see how it all started.
So we'll go back to the 60s to The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and come back for that, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here. Join our conversations on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic. We are on the X formerly known as Twitter at Rewatch the Magic, and new episodes are available every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Remember, the magic is for everyone. It only stops if you let it. Podcasts are fun.
But there's work to be done.
We encourage you to get involved. Here are some organizations we support.
The American Civil Liberties Union fights for the constitutional rights of all Americans. Find them at aclu.org.
The National Network of Abortion Funds helps people find access to safe abortion services. Their site is abortionfunds.org.
The Trevor Project provides a 24/7 crisis helpline for LGBTQ youth and education services for schools on LGBTQ issues. They can be found at thetrevorproject.org.
Or find a way to help in your area.